down where the roots of the huge tree jutted out of the earth, then plunged back in like crooked fingers testing the soil. I breathed in deep the fresh, musky air of early autumn, watched my breath plume back out of me, disappearing into the mist of the crisp morning. The chill was sharp, and my lungs tightened, racked with cough. I adjusted my knitted shawl and tried to recall if I'd ever had any other birthdays with such an early frost. But the memories turned my heart to missing Grandmom and Mama again. A breeze lifted a few of the lifeless leaves from Mama's tree. They scattered and floated clumsily along with the river current. The tree bowed to the edge of the river in such a polite way that it looked as though the tree were asking the river for a waltz. I almost took out my copybook again to write down that pretty thought, but I knew I needed to go. I moved some leaves and twigs from my hiding nook inside the tree trunk where I always kept my writing tools. I covered them up again and climbed up the sloping bank, brushing my hands on the back of my riding clothes, a patched and repatched pair of Papa's pants, cinched with rope, worn under a plain old smock. I looked over at Mama's grave again. A large mound of faded whitewashed stones marked it. Mason-Dixon had left a granite marker showing the difference betwixt the Maryland and Pennsylvania sides, not too far off. I could see it gleaming white, but never went close. Can't say it looked much different over there than over here. I wondered if I'd feel any different if I stepped over Mama's grave and sunk my big toe deep into that free soil. The thought gave me another chill, but this one went from inside my head down to my heart. Mayapple greeted me from behind with a snort and a shake of her glossy, copper mane. "Sometimes I do believe you're vainer than any human I know," I told her, turning to stroke her muzzle. Mayapple was indeed the prettiest horse in all of Frederick County, but more importantly, the fastest. Papa and Rev Jeff once timed me riding her out here and compared it to the times of other horses who won at them British derbies. They had nothing on us. Of course, we never raced anyone for real, since I was the only one who rode her. Mayapple don't take so well to everybody. While she tolerated Papa, more than once she threw Charlie D off her back when he tried. He would have liked to make her into glue, I'm sure. Rev, Papa, and I still get a good laugh out of that story. Me and Mayapple both stay out of Charlie's way on purpose. He don't like me either, though I never threw him off anything. Papa say Mayapple can tell a bad one from a mile away. Papa say Charlie D's mad at us 'cause he's only number 3 at Not Wild after Rev Jeff and Papa. Rev Jeff would say Charlie's number 4 'cause though Rev's the master of the plantation, he himself must answer to God. Mayapple gave a whinny to let me know she was done dawdling and ready for her breakfast, too. We raced back home just so to feel the wind in our faces. Back in the stable, I brushed Mayapple twice, 'cause she just wasn't satisfied with a once-over, and I put on her feed bag. When she looked so forlorn that I was leaving her, I promised to braid her mane later. But as I left the stable, I could see the sun sitting right atop the mountains, so I knew Papa would be waiting. When I rushed into our cabin, Papa was already seated at his place and had a steaming plate of grits in front of him. "Girl, you're lucky it's your birthday," he cut me off sternly, chopping at the lumpy mound he'd made for himself. "A man could starve around here waiting on you. How you supposed to keep a husband happy if you can't even take care of your own pa?" My heart felt all crooked, like it sat in my elbows instead of my chest. Papa was always a bit cranky when he was hungry, but it was his talk about husbands that hurt the most. I whispered I was sorry and began cleaning up the pot he'd cooked in. The grits were burnt and clung to the bottom of the pan like they were afraid to come out. I knew how they felt. For the past few months, Papa had been bringing up this husband business. It wasn't that I didn't want a family of my own one day, but right now, I wanted to think about finishing all the Greek myths this winter and to ponder Mr. Shakespeare's word puzzles. There was no husband I knew in these parts who I could tell that to.